Chapter 18 4,000 Leagues Under the Pacific. The next morning, November 18th, I had fully recovered from the previous day's fatigue and went up to the platform just as the Nautilus's first mate was uttering his daily phrase. It then occurred to me that it referred to the state of the sea, or rather, it meant we have nothing in sight. Indeed, the ocean was deserted, not a sail on the horizon. The heights of Crespo Island had vanished during the night. The sea, absorbing the colors of the prism except for blue rays, reflected them in every direction, taking on an admirable indigo hue. A broad, rippling moire pattern stretched across the undulating waves. I was admiring this magnificent ocean view when Captain Nemo appeared. He seemed not to notice my presence and began a series of astronomical observations. Once finished, he leaned against the beacon cage and gazed absently at the sea. Meanwhile, about 20 sailors from the Nautilus, all strong, well-built men, had come up on deck. They were hauling in the nets that had been trailing all night. These men clearly belonged to different nations, though the European type was evident in all. I distinctly recognized Irishmen, Frenchmen, a few Slavs, and a Greek or Cretan. They spoke little among themselves, using only that bizarre dialect whose origin I couldn't even guess. So I gave up trying to question them. The nets were hauled aboard. They were a type of trawl, like those used on the Normandy coast. Vast bags kept half open by a floating beam and a chain running through the lower mesh. Dragged along by their iron scrapers, these nets swept the ocean floor, gathering everything in their path. That day, they brought up a fine sample of the region's marine life. Some frogfish, whose comical movements earned them the nickname histrios, black-striped triggerfish with wavy fins, venomous tetradons, olive-colored lampreys, silvery-scaled macrospinosuses, electric trichurids, as powerful as gymnoti and torpedoes, scalenopterids with brown crossbands, various gobies, and finally, some larger fish, a big-eyed jack a meter long, a few fine mackerel, gleaming in blue and silver, and 3 magnificent tuna, whose speed had not saved them from the net. I estimated this haul at over 1,000 pounds of fish, a fine catch, but not surprising, as these nets remained submerged for hours, trapping entire aquatic worlds. We would never lack excellent food, thanks to the Nautilus's speed and its electric light, which constantly lured new prey. The catch was immediately lowered through a hatch to the storerooms, some to be eaten fresh, others preserved. Once the fishing was done and the air supply renewed, I assumed the Nautilus would resume its underwater journey. I was about to return to my cabin when Captain Nemo turned to me and said abruptly, "Look at this ocean, Professor. Isn't it truly alive? Doesn't it have its rages and its tenderness? Yesterday it slept like us, and now it awakens after a peaceful night." He spoke as if continuing a conversation we'd already begun. "Watch," he continued. "It wakes under the sun's caresses. It will live its daily life again. Studying its functions is fascinating. It has a pulse, arteries, spasms, and I agree with the scholar Maury, who discovered in it a circulation as real as that of blood in animals." Clearly, Captain Nemo expected no reply from me. It seemed pointless to reply with obviously, or "you're right." He was speaking more to himself, pausing between phrases as if meditating aloud. "Yes," he said, "the ocean has true circulation, and to create it, the creator of all things only needed to multiply heat, salt, and microscopic creatures within it. Heat creates varying densities, causing currents and countercurrents. Evaporation, negligible in polar regions, but intense near the equator, creates a perpetual exchange between tropical and polar waters. I've also observed ... vertical currents that form the ocean's true respiration. I've seen seawater, heated at the surface, sink to the depths, reach maximum density at 2 degrees below zero, then cool further, grow lighter, and rise again. At the poles, you'll witness the effects of this law, why freezing occurs only on the surface. As Captain Nemo spoke, I thought, the pole? Does this daring man mean to take us there? But he fell silent, gazing at the element he had so thoroughly studied. Then he resumed. Salts, he said, exist in vast quantities in the sea. If you extracted all of them, they'd form a mass of 4.5 million cubic leagues, enough to cover the globe with a layer over 10 meters high. And don't think their presence is mere chance. No, they make seawater less evaporable, preventing winds from carrying off excessive vapor, which would otherwise drown temperate zones. A vital role, a balancing force in Earth's grand design. Captain Nemo paused, took a few steps on the platform, then returned. As for infusoria, he continued, those billions of microscopic creatures, millions in a single drop, 800,000 of which weigh just a milligram. Their role is no less crucial. They absorb marine salts, assimilate solid elements, and truly build limestone continents. They create coral and madrepores. Then, the water, stripped of its mineral nourishment, rises, absorbs salts left by evaporation, grows heavier, sinks, and brings new sustenance to the infusoria. There, he added, lies true existence. And I would found nautical cities, underwater colonies, like the Nautilus, returning each morning to breathe at the surface. Free cities, independent. And yet, who knows if some tyrant... He cut himself off with a violent gesture. Then, addressing me directly, as if to banish a dark thought, Professor, he asked, do you know the ocean's depth? At least, Captain, what soundings have revealed. Could you cite them, so I may verify? Here are a few I recall, I replied. If I'm not mistaken, the North Atlantic averages 8,200 meters, the Mediterranean 2,500. The most remarkable soundings were taken in the South Atlantic near the 35th parallel, recording 12,000, 14,091, and 15,149 meters. In short, the seabed's average depth is estimated at 7 kilometers. Good, Professor, said Captain Nemo. I hope to show you better than that. As for the Pacific's average depth here, it's only 4,000 meters. With that, Captain Nemo headed for the hatch and disappeared down the ladder. I followed him back to the salon. The propeller engaged immediately, and the log showed a speed of 20 knots. Over the following days and weeks, Captain Nemo made few appearances. I saw him only at rare intervals. His first mate regularly marked our position on the chart, allowing me to track the Nautilus's course precisely. Conse and Ned Land spent long hours with me. Conse had recounted the wonders of our forest walk, leaving the Canadian regretting he hadn't joined us. But I hoped another chance would arise to explore submarine forests. Nearly every day, the salon's panels opened for hours, letting our eyes feast on the underwater world's mysteries. The Nautilus generally headed southeast, maintaining a depth between 100 and 150 meters. Once, however, on some whim, it dove diagonally on its inclined planes, reaching waters 2,000 meters down. The thermometer showed 4.25 degrees Celsius, a temperature constant at such depths across all latitudes. On November 26, at 3 a.m., the Nautilus crossed the Tropic of Cancer at 172 degrees longitude. By the 27th, we sighted the Sandwich Islands, where Captain Cook met his end on February 14, 1779. We had now covered 4,860 leagues from our starting point. That morning, I saw Hawaii, the largest of the archipelago's 7 islands, 2 miles to windward. Its cultivated shores, mountain ranges, and volcanoes, especially Mauna Kea, towering 5,000 meters above sea level, were clearly visible. Among other specimens, the nets brought up flabellaria, graceful polyps unique to these waters. The Nautilus maintained its southeast course. On December 1st, it crossed the equator at 142 degrees longitude. 4 days later, after an uneventful passage, we sighted the Marquesas. At 3 miles off, I glimpsed Martin Point on Nuku Hiva, the archipelago's main island under French rule. Only the wooded mountains were visible, as Captain Nemo disliked nearing land. The nets yielded splendid fish, coryphanas with azure fins and golden tails, their flesh incomparable, nearly scaleless holocentrids, delicious to taste, bony-jawed osterinches, and yellow-throated tassers, rivaling bonito, all worthy of the ship's pantry. From December 4th to 11th, the Nautilus sailed some 2,000 miles. This stretch was marked by an encounter with a vast school of squid, curious mollusks akin to cuttlefish. French fishermen call them encornets. These cephalopods, along with cuttlefish and argonauts, while gourmets prized them as delicacies according to Athenaeus. It was during the night of December 9th, 10th, that the Nautilus met this army of nocturnal mollusks. They numbered in the millions, migrating from temperate to warmer zones, following herring and sardine routes. Through the thick glass panels, we watched them swim backward at great speed, propelled by their siphon tubes, chasing fish and smaller mollusks, eating and being eaten, their 10 tentacles writhing like a nest of pneumatic serpents. Despite its speed, the Nautilus navigated among them for hours, catching countless specimens. I identified 9 species classified by d'Orbigny in the Pacific. Thus, the sea endlessly displayed its marvels, changing scenery and spectacle for our delight. We were privileged not only to witness creation's wonders beneath the waves, but to probe the ocean's most formidable mysteries. On December 11th, I was reading in the salon, while Ned Land and Conse observed the luminous waters through the half-open panels. The Nautilus, motionless, hovered at 1,000 meters, a sparsely inhabited zone where large fish appeared only rarely. I was engrossed in Jean May's delightful The Servants of the Stomach, savoring its ingenious lessons, when Conse interrupted. "Would monsieur come look?" he said in a strange tone. "What is it, Conse?" "Monsieur must see." I rose and leaned against the window. In the electric light, a massive, black shape hung motionless in the water. I studied it closely, trying to identify this colossal cetacean, when a sudden thought struck me. "A ship," I cried. "Yes," Ned replied, "a disabled vessel that sank." He was right. Before us lay a ship, its severed shrouds still dangling from the chains. The hull seemed intact, its sinking recent. The 3 stumps of masts, sheared off 2 feet above deck, showed it had jettisoned its rigging before capsizing. Lying on its side, flooded, it listed heavily to port. A grim sight, this wreck lost beneath the waves. But grimmer still was the deck, where corpses, lashed with ropes, still lay. I counted 4 men. 1 still standing at the helm, and a woman, half emerged from the companionway, clutching a child. She was young. The Nautilus's light revealed her features, not yet decomposed by water. In a final effort, she had raised her child above her head, a poor little being whose arms still clung to its mother's neck. The sailors' contorted postures were horrifying, twisted in convulsive struggles to free themselves from the ropes. Only the helmsman seemed calm, his face grave, gray hair stuck to his forehead, his clenched hand still gripping the wheel, as if steering his wrecked 3-master through the deep. What a scene! We stood speechless, hearts pounding, before this shipwreck captured in its final moments, a photograph of death. Already I imagined enormous sharks, eyes ablaze, drawn by this human prey. But the Nautilus, circling the sunken ship, gave me a glimpse of its stern plaque, Florida, Sunderland.